And welcome to Let's Play Little Nouns. It's another Wednesday. We got a great show coming up, joined as always with Index. We got a lot to talk about here about season 3. We're going to test out, maybe put up a candidate prop. A lot of stuff going on this week. We got some Little Nouns props. We're going to get into it here in about 40 seconds, right after this. Index. GM, sir.
GM, welcome back. I guess this is officially week 2 in a row back after a short break. So, a lot going on the Dow. Kind of excited to dig in. I don't really know where we're going with it today. We can kind of go a bunch of different directions. But yeah, kind of like never-ending content right now in this current state of the Dow.
Hey, let's start with this. You got, it looks like you got a new PFP. Is that an index card head with hip rows and then index body? What do you got going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been really into the hip rose noggles for a while now, and I'm going full force, even though my noun doesn't have them. And then always the index cardigan. I think I'm not sure I've really ever rocked my actual noun too often. I always do some derivative, so this is my derivative for now.
Fair enough. Index cardigan. Real quick, you know the disclaimer by now. Not this show is an adventure. It's not legal advice. Certainly not financial advice. Definitely sponsored by Lil Nouns DAO. You can look that prop up. Learn all the details at on Ethereum, lilnouns.wtf/116. Here we are, September 27th, Season 3. Set the stage here, Index. What are we at now? We're at now 8:59. I tune in live here, and it's going for 22.69 ETH. Probably higher than a lot of people would anticipate at this stage, no?
Yeah, we've seen kind of like a few interesting things with the auction. Immediately post fork, the auction values didn't really change much at all. So for those that aren't aware, the book value of a noun around the time of the fork was 36.6. So once that was pretty set in stone, the auction started closing super close to that, and then they stayed near that for a few nouns, and that was maybe for a few different reasons. Blur bids were still pretty high, maybe some stale blur bids that people were selling into for a small profit. Then randomly, or not so randomly, the blur bids kind of dropped off quite aggressively, and so the auctions did for a moment. I don't know if these auctions were also accounting for the fact that there's over 400 something nouns in the treasury or escrow contract, and so the book value could potentially be chopped in half. And then all of a sudden this started ticking back up again, maybe when they saw this one of these proposals we have where the fork threshold may be reduced to 10%. So that means a fork is more imminent, price would go up. A lot of different factors, who really knows. I'm not in the mind of an arbor, but there's an opportunity here, so people are playing the game.
Okay, well, this was the noun that was up last week. Do we know, if we go through these, do we know sort of who the buyers are? We got a couple of OXs here, 16, 19, 19. And then I noticed like Nounocrat, Custom ENS. Do we know who any of these people are?
I do know some of the addresses have forked in the past. I do remember maybe seeing like an address or two that didn't explicitly look forkish. But yeah, I think a lot of these people have forked or have been involved in kind of fork related transactions.
So then is the thought that they are kind of looking to do the fork again, or they really like nouns and they wanted to fork out to get their ETH and then buy back in and pocket the extra, whatever, 14, 15 ETH? Do we know?
I don't think we know for sure, but I do think some of these people are looking for a second fork maybe coming up soon. Right now, I forget the amount, but you're looking at maybe at most 80 tokens to signal another fork. If the prop for 10% threshold passes, you're looking at just under 40 nouns in order to do a fork. We've seen an individual come forward that has claimed to have missed a fork, and they hold, I believe, 4 tokens. We've got more members in the DAO that like to vote no and maybe might join a second fork. So I don't know. I think we could see a second fork on the table soon, but hard to say.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Nouns is an infinite game, keeps on going. But yeah, if we shift gears over to talk about the props, one thing I noticed is there's a lot. Right now, we've got, 1, 2, 3 pending, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 active. Quite a bit.
Yeah, and then there was just a couple that ended yesterday. So it's been quite the pace with the props. I feel like this is the most at once that the DAO's ever seen, but I don't know what the actual data says. It just kind of feels like it.
Mm-hmm. Any of these that you feel strongly about or want to talk about? Yeah, the candidate submission fee failed. We covered that last week. The season 3 grants, a lot of people on here, a lot of big names who've been very active. This one went down 52 to 61. I think you voted yes on this. I think I saw your noun in there, didn't I?
Yeah, I voted for with a reason. I hope maybe it was a good reason or not, but I kind of related it to the Nouniversary trait prop, in that there was a group of individuals that came together towards a mission that they really kind of align with. And so like for the Nouniversary one, that was adding artwork on 8.8, and in this prop I see a group of people that feel that, you know, small grants or prop house is kind of like you know, something that's super important to the DAO and necessary, and they were willing to do it. And so I kind of voted for, in alignment with that kind of mission, a group of people who are loyal to the DAO and kind of see a need and just stepped up to the plate to try and fill it. I do like the garden option as well, so I'm going to vote. I think I already voted for the garden, and I guess I was willing to see both of them play out, and then the DAO can make the decision what they liked, maybe take a little bit from both for a new initiative. But this is one of the first times in a while I think we saw competing proposals at the same time, trying to tackle a very similar mission. And the overlap isn't perfect, but there was enough there where people kind of leaned into the garden a little more.
Yeah. This one's still in progress, but already cleared the threshold for now.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like it's going to pass. There was a strong no vote today from Noun 12. But other than that, mostly supportive, in that the fact that the funds were already kind of allocated for, and it's just a new interesting way to try and implement funding in the DAO. People want to try new things.
I like how it's the whole contract here that creates a drop for the gardeners. So then these NFT holders are going to be holding a contract that was deployed by Nouns main, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of one of like the new novel things that this proposal did was it's dropping like a collection of NFTs from the DAO, and people will kind of take hold of these and they'll be theirs for forever if they want. It's kind of like a nice little keepsake from the DAO if you get chosen as a gardener. Something new.
Right on. Boy, yeah, you mentioned this lower fork threshold to 10%. This would be a big change. And then is the 10%, this is relative to the supply of total nouns or just nouns in circulation outside of the treasury and escrow contracts?
Yeah, so the verbs implemented something like called adjusted total supply in all the contracts, and so that includes all nouns outside of the treasury or the escrow. So 10% of 859 minus 472, I think that's like high 300s. So 10% of almost just under 400.
Yep. Interesting here. If you think this one will pass here, noun 12 is against. I guess it's the only noun is voted.
This one actually, I don't really know. Maybe I've only seen some like against sentiment, maybe a little bit of a for, but I don't know if I can actually predict this one. I could see it being my own personal perspective. I could see it being a great parameter in like the future of the DAO. But right now, maybe I'm missing something, but I think, and maybe it's not that bad that we get another fork, but I think we get a fork pretty much right after this passes. If it does. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
Let's see. I notice Prop 388 here. It's interesting to see this go on chain. We had Pete on last week, where he put this up as a candidate, and he got sponsored, and it's up and live and pending. Goes to vote, I think, in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, he found a sponsor shortly after our stream, and then he waited a day or so to go live. Kind of like maybe a little bit of a tactical thing. There was a flurry of props, and I don't think he wanted to get caught up in them. Maybe take away some of the attention that he was hoping to get, or some of the legitimate feedback. It's definitely a strange time in the DAO for like staking, but I hope he gets some real feedback. I don't really know how it's going to play out. 1 ETH only. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, good for him for getting a sponsor.
Right on. We'll watch it and we'll see. It'll be voting next week. Let's bounce over to Little Nouns because we got actually 3 props that are up. We got Little Nouns take over Art Basel. My first time looking at this here. Not a whole lot of turnout yet.
Just went live this morning, so for voting, so not too much time to vote. I'm kind of a part of this proposal. I was at Art Basel last year, just for fun, just for the hell of it. I plan to be there again, and so I'm throwing my energy towards trying to help out with an event.
Right on.
You've been withholding any sort of like feedback on any of these proposals. Panda diplomacy in action, or no?
Quite honestly, I haven't thought them through much at all. I don't know. I mean, how did we funded that Chicago one? How did that go? Is this effective proliferation? Is that what we're looking to do? It looks like this funds like a bagel and builders and some discussions and a happy hour.
Essentially, this prop sends 4 ETH in order to rent a space for an entire day, and there's going to be a variety of activities or like sub events at this larger Little Nouns Art Basel event. I think all the team members are pretty much just volunteering their time and energy to trying to throw an enjoyable experience. Whether or not events are effective for the DAO, I actually don't really know. I've been known to speak out against in real life event, and here I am attached to one. But to me, this one is a little bit different because it's no payment, and this prop is going directly to any of us. And so far, we've brought in quite a few other organizations to kind of like work alongside us. It'll be interesting. I don't know. Maybe this will finally give me, my true feelings on whether events are worth it or not.
Yeah. Also fair to take the position that you're against all events that you're not going to personally attend. I think that's a fair position to take. But I do like, this does seem a lot more thought out than the ETH Denver event. It seems like there's some, real nounish energy if all these folks get together. Yeah. So voting you launched this morning, you said, and it's going to be live for another 3 days. 2 days. 2 days and 7 hours.
Yep. So we'll see. Once we log down this venue, I do think as far as events go, this one will do quite well. And so that's kind of where I think I finally have, many data points to decide whether or not these kind of IRL events are a good cause or not.
Love it. Love it. Let's move on here to 144. I had to zoom right in on the broken heart, and I note that they had to shrink it down from 4 pixels to just 3 pixels. Did you do the art on this? Did you select which pixel got yoinked?
No, this is Adele. He did all the art on the original Nouns, Little Nouns, and I think he did last year's anniversary trade. So he did all these. It's actually just 2 pixels from the Little Nouns heart, so 4 to 2. But it actually comes across better than I thought. I thought it was going to be a mess because I did try it once, and it was just it's a very small canvas. So I'm impressed it kind of comes across enough. But these heads are great. I'm excited to see them in the project. If this passes, I don't know why it wouldn't pass. Breathe a little life into the DAO. Maybe a few more auctions. I might have to buy one again.
Yeah, got the little curling stone. I noticed the nogs fit right on line there above the midline. Cotton candy. I love the fax machine.
Fax is kind of great because it's like swallowing the entire body of the little. It kind of just dwarfs the little. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. This one is active now for 2 days, 2.5 days. So go ahead and vote. And then we also have 145 Little Nouns and W3FC. Football, Hong Kong, FinTech, Ape Fest. Interesting. Yeah, this. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. Looks like Noggles, name and branding on jerseys. Video editing, here 10 grand and 2 Little Nouns. Yeah, I don't know what to think about this one here. Be interesting to see how the voting plays out. Have you taken a look at this, Index?
I'm a little bit familiar with it. I know They had an event at FTNYC. I did not attend that event. I'm not particularly into soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. So I didn't attend. I think I had something else. But I think it's probably a very fun initiative. Is it for Little Nouns to sponsor? I'm a little undecided on that. Maybe if Little Nouns had an actual team at the ready to go, and this was like something we were passionate about, and we had like a competitive, squad. Maybe I'd be more interested. I don't know. I sort of have a competing prop right now too, I guess. Even though we're not directly the same style of prop, it's still an in real life activation on chain at the same time. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we could fund both, but not too strong feelings on this one.
Well, I wonder if this our Basel thing passes, maybe we have to do a live show or a show for one of these panels.
We can do that. We could do anything you set your mind to.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so that's what's happening at Little Nouns. Let's take a break here, pause, and head back to the Figma. We're about 20 minutes into the show, and we got some more fun stuff. What do you want to get into next, Index? Should we go to just a quick treasury recap, maybe? I took this screenshot before here. This is Nouns net worth about 22 million. Again, the bulk of that is in Steth here. And this balance grows block by block. Also got some RETH, a little bit of USDC, and a good chunk of ETH. ETH down at the 1500s level. It's the lowest it's been in a while, but it's a long game. Any thoughts on the treasury, the fork impact? Anything to add here?
Since last time, I guess it hasn't really changed too much. And last time was already post fork, so we already kind of saw it cut in half. I mean, ETH is obviously down a little bit, so the overall net worth in USD is going to be down. But yeah, hasn't changed too much. Auctions are down, but spend, I think, is down. We've only passed maybe one prop, I think. Yeah, not too many thoughts on this. I don't know. I think I did book value calculation roughly yesterday. And if you don't use the nouns in the treasury or escrow, so adjusted total supply, I think it was down to like 36.1. I think that was right, but I could be wrong. So there's a bunch of numbers now that are like sort of important in the DAO that aren't easily discoverable. So like adjusted total supply, every time I feel like I got to do the math. 859 minus 472, current book value. There's no real easy way to find those. So I kind of wish there was a little dashboard. Maybe I should be making it where like these numbers that I'm always trying to reference are somewhere easily discoverable.
Mm-hmm.
Like DAO V3 kind of introduced all of these new features, new mechanics, new dynamics, and so like with it are all these new numbers that we never had to consider before. It's been hard to juggle them all, I think, in my head.
Yeah, it's a complicated game. Yeah, by the way, just looking here at the fork to see all the nouns, which we're going to talk about soon. I did notice that Nounocrat here forked with 831, so he would have gotten at least 36 ETH and then just bought back in at 22 ETH. So interesting dynamic there. But let's move on to sort of the the main thrust of the show here today. Is the DAO has 472 nouns here between its treasury and its escrow contract. These are just assets here that the DAO has control of, and there's been a lot of talk about what to do with these. Should they be given out? Should they be awarded to specific teams? And you and I were jamming in Discord, I think in Farcaster, and I was thinking, hey, what if we do some sort of prop where we give a noun to What I was thinking was each of the verbs. That'd be Elon and David, who, of course, executed the social process and the technical aspects of this fork. So yeah, you want to jam about that?
Yeah, last week I think we threw around a few ideas. Your idea was to try and distribute a noun to each of the verbs. We had another idea, which was just kind of bring all the nouns home. So there's a couple hundred in escrow right now. Those are kind of like the big ones that involve all the fork nouns. So I guess with the verbs one, it's kind of an interesting thing because it's largely it does, even though you can do it permissionlessly, it does sort of kind of beg for their involvement in some way to kind of like give a stamp of approval, or even to just select the noun they would like to receive. There's no real easy way to just say, hey, you get one redemption on the treasury, and then you can call it when you want. That would be kind of, I think, the ideal way if it was possible. The DAO could just vote, hey, this address gets to redeem one. Go for it whenever you want. I think that would be kind of cool.
Oh, interesting. So then the
Like you get a
recipient
redemption
could
token.
redeem for like, and sort of like you put your redemption token in, you get to pick a noun out of the I think of like the vending machine with the claw, and then you get to pick whichever noun and at a later date and claim it.
That would be I feel like that's actually a pretty good idea. I don't know what the reality of that idea is. We're not able to do that yet or right now. So but there's other ways to do it. Maybe we'll go over them right now. I have a couple of GitHub screenshots in the Figma, but we could stay on this kind of for now because it depends on which noun we're distributing.
Okay. All right. Well, let me kind of take you through my draft prop here real quick. I just punch this up in WebMD. It's basically I picked the two best looking nouns.
Sorry.
Sorry, HackMD.
I had to. Sorry.
Yes, I am a new parent. Yes, HackMD. So I chose 680 and 682 here. These two lovely pandas. I just wrote up sort of some text. So if we were going to create a prop to direct one of these pandas to a specific address, I figured, hey, let's kind of walk through an ordinary nouns player. Like, how do you do that? So let's say we start out here at nouns.wtf. And I'm looking for noun 680. How do I find it? What do I do? Do I go to Treasury here, or take me through this?
I guess if you're on nouns.wtf, yeah, you can go click into the Treasury, token holdings, search by token name now, which you're kind of doing, and then see if it's there. What I would probably do is kind of go to
here they are.
686, 758. Yeah, so you kind of already knew they were there. What I would maybe do is just click any noun and then go into kind of like that noun token contract, I guess, and then just pick the noun ID if I knew what it was, and see where that noun is held. But we kind of already know it's in the Treasury. And so if the noun is held in the Treasury, which there are a couple hundred of, there is some precedent for withdrawing one from the Treasury thanks to Mutual Love and Nexus. So I think I would just kind of find his proposal and take a look at the transaction he used. Prop 326. So this was kind of like a multi-layered noun journey. So this noun was bought by Nouns at auction using the Federation auto bidder. Mr. Jellyfish, I guess, I forget what it was named. Jello. Mr. Jello.
Yep.
And so he was just sitting in the treasury for a while, and then Nekvis came in, made the proposal to claim him, and so we kind of have a sample transaction that we can copy. And so using the safe transfer from function transfers it from nouns.eth, which actually would not be correct anymore because nouns.eth is still pointing at the old treasury, and our noun is in the new treasury. So there is a little bit of a difference here. And then you would just put in the address that you want to send it to, which would be maybe address of the verb choosing, and then the noun ID. So this transaction is not too complicated. You just have to get the addresses right and make sure you got the right noun number.
Okay, so how do I get the that safe transfer function? How do I find that? Do I take the contract address here and copy this in?
So you are trying to transfer. Well, you would. The Nekvis one already kind of has the contract address there, so you would use that one instead. 0x9c, and so that's for the actual nouns token. So you're trying to call the transfer from function on the nouns token contract instead of what I think you're doing is the treasury.
Okay. All right. So take me through how I find that. Let's go to a noun, yeah, and then it's this contract here, the OX9C.
Yep.
Okay, so then I go back over here, I go to OX9C. All right, and then safe transfer.
Yep, safe transfer from.
Which one here?
I cannot see everything that you're seeing. But it should have 3 arguments, the addresses and then the actual noun itself.
Address, you went 256.
Yep. So when you do the drop down, okay. I don't think I can see your drop down options, but that's okay. And now here on the from, you would do the actual nouns treasury address that you had before, which is the new treasury, not nouns.eth anymore.
Oh, but then for the escrow contract, would that be just the escrow contract?
I believe for the escrow, it's a different function. So on the escrow contract, there's a function called withdraw tokens, and that the DAO can only call. But it can withdraw the token to another address. It doesn't have to withdraw it back to the DAO itself.
Okay, all right. So what I did here was safe transfers token 680 from the new treasury to, in this case, I just put my address. Can you see when I hover over this, does that pop up?
Yep, we can see that. So safe transfer from the treasury into your address, and you get a noun or noun 680.
Okay, so let's say then I wanted to transfer one from the escrow contract. Can you walk me through that?
If you go to the Figma real quick, maybe kind of introduce some of the functions, because there's a few new functions introduced here.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the mic on Figma here. I'm gonna share Figma and then take it away.
Are you following? Yeah, you are following me. Okay. So I copy and pasted some code from the contracts that was on GitHub, and we have kind of two main contracts here that we're looking at: nouns.dao v3 fork.solidity, nouns.dao fork escrow.solidity. And so the second one is obviously just the escrow contract, and then the third one, I mean, the first one kind of controls the fork. And so in this one here, we have an execute fork function, which I called once the threshold was hit. Anyone could have called that. I called it. And so I deployed a new DAO and started a new treasury and kind of kicked the whole thing off. And so this execute fork thing function has another function within it called close escrow, which is kind of important because if we see on this next screenshot in the DAO fork escrow, and the verbs does like really, really great documentation actually. So if you just read the notice, closes the escrow and increments the fork ID. Once the escrow is closed, all the escrowed tokens can no longer be unescrowed by the owner, but can be withdrawn by the DAO. And so when I called this function up here, I closed the escrow, we incremented the fork ID, and now everything can kind of be withdrawn. And so there's another function here, different than the safe transfer function, called withdraw tokens.
Can I pause you just for a second,
Sure.
Index?
Yeah.
So you kicked off the fork and you also closed it. You did. Those are two different
Yeah. So I when I hit execute fork, it creates the contracts for the new forked DAO, new fork token, new fork treasury, all that stuff, and it closed the escrow that was currently active. So it kind of two things in one function. Well, it's a lot of things in one function, but
okay, I follow that better because the escrow started before the fork, before you initiated the fork. It had already gone with 187 nouns or whatever.
Yeah, so there was kind of like two phases. One is the escrow, and that was a reversible action. I think I talked about it a little bit last week, but it can be a little confusing, and I'm probably not perfect at verbally explaining it. But there was kind of two periods: an escrow period, and so when you put your token in escrow, you could have removed it, and it was a reversible action. Nothing was really done. You just signaled that you were joining the escrow. You could have pulled it out to vote on props if you had to, and all that kind of stuff. But once the threshold was met, anyone could have called this function. I chose to do it because I just was sitting there at the computer. And so that's kind of how I became the owner of the new token on OpenSea and all that stuff that happened. And that closed the escrow, so nobody could actually remove their token from the escrow once I hit that button. So that was kind of reversible. But those who were in the escrow, because it was reversible, they weren't given a new token. Their share of the treasury wasn't sent to the new DAO yet. And so anybody that was in escrow had to kind of signal that they had to kind of call their own function to kind of do all those transactions after the fact. If that makes any sense. You're on mute if you're talking at all.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. So then my question is, for these nouns that are still in escrow, how would we go about building a transaction to transfer those?
So kind of like on this third screenshot that I had in Figma, there was the withdraw tokens function, and it withdraws nouns tokens to the DAO from the escrow contract, can only be called by the DAO contract. And so we will want to call this function on this contract. And so the contract address 0x44D, and
how do I find that? Which is that like oh yeah, I get that from Agora.
There's a few ways you could do it. You could get it from Agora. You can, if you know a noun is in the escrow, you can kind of click that noun. So like on that fork page, those first nouns that were forked were in escrow. So you could just click one of those and see what wallet it's in. But you have it. So.
All right. So then I want to do this withdraw tokens. And so 256. So this is like the ID of it. Is that right?
Yeah, so I don't actually know if there's a limit to how many it can take. I would say I don't think there is. So I think you could potentially put all nouns, noun IDs that are in the escrow contract in this kind of in this field here as an array. And then 2 is whatever address you want to send them to. For now, I guess I don't know what address we're sending it to in this example, but it could be anything. It does not have to be the DAO. It can be the DAO treasury.
Well, let's say I wanted to send one of them to a verb, like David or Lod. How would I do that?
So you would just put their address in that to address field. Kind of like the other transaction.
And just the ID that I want to them. Like 6, whatever. I don't know which one's in here.
Yeah, I don't know what the ideas of which ones are in the escrow, but yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist. The only thing I'm not 100% sure on is formatting of the integers for multiple token IDs so that there's no errors, but it would look something like this at least.
Right on. So I'm going to just throw in my address here. I'm not actually going to submit this as a candidate. Oh yeah, it doesn't.
So yeah, format it with as an array. So put the brackets around it. There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the only thing you needed to kind of format it as an array, because you can put however many noun IDs there are. And then the function will loop through them all and send them where they got to go.
All right. Well, that's not too complicated.
The complicated and the challenging part is scraping all the noun IDs and compiling them into an array. But for one noun, I think it's pretty simple. We do have a candidate prop up from Little's own Borg that we'll send 2 of these somewhere, one including to myself, permissionless kind of distribution on his end. But we could take a look at that one too. I think we maybe touched on it last week a little bit. There it was. He keeps updating it to bump it to the top of the list. Good marketing. It's from Pipe. If you see it a couple down.
Yeah, interesting. He's got an abstention here from Krell. Tentatively leaning supportive. Interesting.
I mean, like, no one has distributed one yet, so someone's got to break the seal. I don't know if it's us, if it's someone else. Gami would like to give one to Bob Burnquist. We've seen that. That's not from the escrow contract, so it's a little simpler. This one does call the escrow contract, but I think it's kind of an honor that people desire these nouns and are like window shopping. You know, it's like people still value them. Clearly, maybe they're not exchanging ETH for them, but they're still exchanging something or attempting to exchange something for a noun. So there's some value there, whether it's purely financial or there's some other form of value ascribed to these nouns. But I think it's still an honor that people are in the community and want one.
Yeah. Well, let me give you my kind of pitch here for the verbs. And maybe you could give me some feedback here on this verbs draft. We could work on it a little bit. We've got about another 5-10 minutes. How's that sound?
Yeah, let's kind of go through it.
All right, so I'm going to start here. Prop 4. Prop 4. This is OG. Basically, the verbs have been in nouns since the beginning. They've been on chain so many times. Most recently here, Prop 311. Great number. 306 for, 0 against. OG builders who really kind of, in my opinion, have their pulse on the DAO. They've shipped code. I mean, a huge amount of code. New Solidity. We got this V3. I was extremely impressed by the way that they led the social process, not just the technical process of the code for the fork, but the social process of navigating kind of the rage quit discussion, how that morphed into sort of a fork, how they got feedback, how they shopped that around. And then to me, it's just truly amazing that this thing worked, that it worked flawlessly. There was a lot of money at stake, and it just worked. So I just have a personal belief, just an admiration here for the verbs. And I think, really, I just think the DAO is better off if the verbs, if David and Laud benefit the DAO by holding a noun, by voting, by weighing in, sort of an honorarium, as you were saying, sort of like a tribute, a gift. This would be in addition to any work they have here with the 6-month extension, which I think keeps them sort of on the budget for the DAO through December, right? So starting August 1st, so through February next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of covers it. They've been since the beginning. They've executed some high level contracts for the DAO, really shaping the DAO in like an interesting way. You know, they're here to try and move the DAO forward. If the DAO needs something, they're there to kind of think through it and build the contract for us. And it just kind of makes sense for them to hold one, I think, whether or not they want to vote with it and voice their opinion, because they do kind of play both sides of the coin and have to see all sides of it. But in a post-fork world, yeah, it'd be great if they had one, and they, from a practical standpoint, as well as any other sort of kind of philosophical reasoning. I'm for this proposal, and part of me was hoping we could already get something up, but you know, I would never do this permissionlessly. I think only with the cosign.
Yeah, definitely, and that's part of why it's not going up today. I'm reaching out. I'm trying to get some input from Elad and David. Not sure if they want this, but I just kind of drew this up. I tweeted about it or casted about it. Yeah, one thing I've thought about is just sort of the tax implications. If the DAO is to give out a noun, then depending on the jurisdiction you're in, maybe a taxable event. I think in the U.S. it probably would be. And there's a question of what is the value of the gift for tax purposes. And then one option the DAO can do is sort of give an additional amount of money to sort of cover the taxes, which I'm a fan of personally. That seems very nounish. It just doesn't seem very nounish to gift someone something that just ends up literally causing them to pay tax on right away out of their own pocket. But I really don't know how the DAO will perceive this kind of ask. What do you think?
I think mostly supportive. Noun 40 did put up a candidate that kind of touched on some of these aspects, and he did receive some feedback from, I think it was Noun 12. So we do have a little bit of information and data there on how a couple of people feel, but obviously Noun 40 for distributing nouns and covering a portion of the or all of the tax bill. Noun 12, not against distributing ETH to cover taxes.
Oh, this is interesting. So we had 5 voters weigh in, 3 for, 2 against. And so 12 said it seemed like the rate was too high. Something scarce. Oh, so he said paying the taxes to the recipient is not appropriate, needless expenditure. Sends a negative signal to anyone looking to buy one at the auction. Um,
I mean, I think at this scale, to me, at the scale, it's a little bit different than at the scale we're looking to do it at. We're looking to distribute 1 or 2 nouns. This is looking to distribute quite a few more. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, it's going to be weird because whoever does it first is kind of setting the precedent. Like if you give out 1 noun and you don't give anything for the tax bill, how is it going to be tougher to add that onto a future noun distribution? Things like that. I don't know. Precedent does matter to some extent in the DAO. Sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting whoever does it first. The Gami prop, I don't think covers a tax bill for the Bob Burnquist now. But I could be misremembering. There's too many props right now for me.
Yeah, let's find that here. Burnquist. All right, this is noun 542. Is this like a retro? Just to give Bob the NFT?
Yeah, it's like sort of retro, sort of future. At the end of the day, just trying to give someone a noun who they think can influence, and I guess a little proliferation of nouns in a good way. Not completely an outsider, has been involved in some of the NARS props, has been on calls for NARS and kind of done some stuff in the NFT Web3 world. I don't know everything about Bob's crypto adventures, but something like that. A little bit of everything.
Okay. Yes,
it feels ridiculous that we're even discussing Bob Burnquist getting a noun, which I guess is part of the excitement. But like, how could I vote no against this as like 10-year-old me? I don't know.
Does pre-proposal feedback qualify for gas reimbursement?
No, not yet. There's actually another. I think it was is it a candidate, or maybe just an idea? But starting to get lost in it. But Martin is trying to work on prop updates kind of thing, and there's no gas refund for that either. So I think if he comes with a prop, he's trying to allocate some refunds to the like the prop updates thing. So I don't think they're here for candidate feedback either, but I should check. I've actually not left. I've sponsored a thing, but I don't think I've left feedback yet. I'm dropping the ball on that part.
Okay, well, back to the verbs team here. They've got the ENS verbs team.eth. They've published a bunch on their design choices for the governor, analysis for rage quit. They introduced the nouns fork here back in May. For anyone interested in following, at Elad Malel, Mallel on Twitter, also active on Farcaster. Here is Elad. Hopefully, I'll hear back. Maybe we get this prop up by next week as a candidate and see how far we can take it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, currently you're allowed to go on chain with just 1 noun, which I hold. So our chances to go on chain or our days to go on chain easily are kind of dwindling. We've got maybe like a little over a week left before I need 2 nouns. So time is ticking, but we could always bring the nouns home if the other options don't work out. Something fun, something light. Is it worth it? I have no idea. It's kind of just moving nouns around, but we can frame it in a fun way maybe and just get involved.
Let's do it. Well, maybe next week. You think we can get a candidate up next week on the show next Wednesday?
We can go straight on chain too, but sure. If you want to go candidate, and then I sponsor it and we go up that way, it's up to you. And I think once you go on chain, the snapshot is kind of there for the proposal threshold. And so if the number of nouns required goes up to 2 while we're already on chain, I think we're good. I think you just got to get on the chain.
All right.
So maybe next week we're going live. You let me know, Panda, what you want to do. Candidate, straight on chain. Maybe we get feedback. We'll see.
We'll see next week, Wednesday. Let's play Little Nouns with Lil Panda and Index. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Nouns.
This is real.
To have a show where people can kind of watch and understand what the whole process is, I think would be super valuable.
Nouns is designed for permissionless creativity. You should just start doing stuff.
Oh my god, the deadline is in 9 minutes.
Do these live interviews.
That's actually that's actually a really good question.
There are really very few yellows that are usable.
Larry King.
Stream directly to Twitter.
It's very funny to me that Will Price was in the intro.
Easier to stumble upon.
Ethereum is a name that describes a particular network.
Playing nouns like a game.
How well you know your onions.
Oh, I'm so bad at this.
A very fun, cool example of what's possible here.
Submitted.
Watching you work in Figma is very enjoyable in itself.